Chodesh Tov. Today's Daf Yomi is dedicated for Shemir for the Chayalim. That's all for the Shvuyim and Yeshua for Am Yisrael. And it's Eis Tzara. The Daf Yomi is Bava Basra Daf Kuf Samoch Bava Basra 160, and the Daf Yomi starts with the words get pashut, the simple get. But of course, we know that there's no such thing as a simple get. A get pashut kirak, the contract means the word get means a contract. And so there's two types of contracts that the Mishnah is referring to. One is where it was straight, not folded. And then there's a get makusher, which is folded over. There's different theories as to how it was folded. There's not unanimity amongst the Rishonim. But the simplest way to understand it is that it was folded over, like you sometimes fold over a fan, and then folded over after each line, and then sewn together. So now we talk about the differences between what's called a get pashut and a get makushar. A get pashut, this straightforward document, Edav mitocho, the witnesses sign on it, whereas the get makushar, the Edav is me'achorav, the witnesses are on the back of it. Pashut, shekasu Edav me'achorav, let's say you have a straight document which the witnesses sign in the back, or makushar, shekasu Edav mitocho, or makushar where the witnesses sign inside it. Shneim Psul, and they're both disqualified. Whereas Rabbi Chanina ben Gamliel Omer Makusher Shekasu Edim Mitocho Kasher. If you have a get Makusher whose witnesses are signing inside is kosher, so pasha, because then you can just turn the document into a get pasha and that will be okay. Rabbi Shimon Gamliel says Hakol Kaminaga Medina, everything follows the provinces of the customs of the country. We'll have to see what that means. So get pashut edav b'shnayim. Another distinction is that if it's a get pashut, there are two witnesses, whereas makusher b'shlosha. If it's a get makusher, there are three witnesses. Pashut shekasav bo eid echad, makusher shekasav bo shnei edim psuin. If you have a pashut where it writes one witnesses, or makusher that writes two witnesses, it's disqualified because it's not what's required. So the Gemara says, Minani Mili, from where do we know this? Or where do we know that there are two types of contracts, that there is two different types of documents, that one is called a pasha, one is called a makusher, one has two witnesses, one has three witnesses, one has witnesses on it, and one has witnesses on the back. Where do we know that there is this concept? So the Gemara is going to cite three possibilities and reject them all. So first of all, says Rabbi Chanina Damar Cross, it says for the first verse from Jeremiah, when Jeremiah tells the people who are about to go into exile, says, don't give up hope. Buy the fields. Don't give up hope. Buy fields with money. Write it in a document and sign it and have witnesses that you're going to come back and reclaim the land. Says the Gemara, what does Jeremiah mean by these phrases? We're on the top of 160b. Zeh pashut. This refers to a get pashut. And you should sign it. Then makusher. This refers to a get. So sefer refers to a pasha. It means a scroll. It's written out. Chasam signed means to say it's all bundled up. That refers to a makusher. Va'id, when it says and testify, that's shnayim. That's two. Edim, that's shlosha. That's three. Okay, tzad. So what does this pasuk mean? Shnayim with pashut and shlosha makusher. Two witnesses for a get pashut and three for a makusher. Gemara says ve'epoch ana. Well, why don't we say it's just the opposite? Maybe that the pashut has three witnesses and the makusher has two. No, mitoch shenisraba b'ksharav nisraba be'edav. No, because the get kosher has folds and more folds, and you're folding it over, so it makes more sense to say that that's the one with the extra witness. Second approach, from Amar Mehacha. It's a different verse in Jeremiah. Jeremiah, when he bought a piece of property from his cousin, he says, "Ve'kacha sefer mikneh." And I took this scroll of acquisition, esachotzom, hamitzvah v'chukim v'sagoy. What does this refer to? V'akacha sefer mikna. That refers to a pasha, because sefer is referring to a get pasha. Esachotzom, that refers to the get kosher. Zemakusher v'sagoy. Zepasha shebemakusher. This reveals to the what's called the toe face of the makusher. Now there are two parts to the get. There are two parts to a document. The two parts to the document is basically the tofes and the toref. The tofes is the main template of the get. That's the same in every document. And then the toref, which is what's specific about each document, the names and the places and the times and the dates. So therefore, the tofes, when it says goy, that's the pashut of a makusher, mitzvah chukim. So the goy is the pashut of a makusher, that even though there's a get makusher, part of it is supposed to be straight out and written like a get pashut, and that is the tofes. Those are the distinctions between the pasha and the makusher. Okay, so what's the distinction? One is two witnesses, one is three. One has witnesses on the main document, one has witnesses on the back of it. Gemara says, again, same question. Maybe it's the reverse. The Gemara says, no. Because there's more folds, therefore you're going to have more witnesses. Third approach, out of Rami Bar Yecheskel, says Mehacha al pi shnayim edim al pi shlosha edim yakum davar. It says in Devarim, on basis of two witnesses or three witnesses, the matter should be established. Now, as the Gemara, im tiskayim edu's son pishnayim lama parocha b'shlosha. If two witnesses are sufficient, why does it say three? If you can use two witnesses, why do you need three? It says tell you Omarcha shnayim lepashut u'shlosha makusher. It's to tell you that you need two witnesses for a get pashut and three for makusher. Says the Gemara, maybe it's the opposite. No, no, because you have more folds, you need more witnesses. So the Gemara says, Vahani, all these cases, these three psukim, which we want to suggest, the two from Jeremiah and the one from Devarim, that's what's teaching us about a get makusher. Vahani lahachu da'asu. That's what these psukim are coming to teach us? No, it can't be. Each one is coming to teach us its own topic. That there's a reason why it's written. Look at the Tanya. Sadas v'kesef yifsnu v'chasu v'sefer v'chasom. That pasuk from Jeremiah, Eitza Tova Kamash one that Rabbi Hanina cited, that's just Jeremiah was giving them good advice. He's saying, record it, record your deeds so that you can come and reclaim it. The second pasuk, V'kacha sefer Mikneh Achi Avi Maisa. That's what happened. Jeremiah got a document of acquisition when he bought the property from his cousin. And what's the third pasuk? Al pishnayim edim, al pishlosha edim. What's that coming to teach us? That's coming to teach us lakisha shlosha shnayim. It's to say we compare three witnesses to two, and this was a pulta to Rabbi Akiva Rabbanan. This relates to the Gemara in Makos, and also it's referred to in Gemara in Sanhedrin. This relates to a dispute to Rabbi Akiva and the Rabbanan that we are going to compare three witnesses to two witnesses. And when we get to Makos and Sanhedrin, we're going to go into the dispute between the three witnesses and the two witnesses. That we compare three witnesses to two witnesses in the case of Edim Zomamin and intricate laws of Adam Zoman as it relates to three witnesses versus two witnesses, but that's why it's there in that pasuk. It relates to that dispute between Rabbi Akiva and the Rabbanan. So El Makusher made the Rabbanan. So therefore, the Gemara says, okay, this whole concept of a get Makusher, that's actually rabbinic. The Ukrai and these verses, they're not coming to teach us this idea. They're asmachta ba'alma. They're only support, but they're not actually teaching us this halacha. So the Yad Ramah says that even according to the Maskana of the Gemara, Jeremiah the prophet wrote a Shtar Makushar. He wrote this folded over document over the acquisition of his field. And the Yad Ramah writes that nevertheless, from the fact that Jeremiah acted in this manner, we learn from here that this takana is a very ancient takana. And remember that Jeremiah, as we'll see from the next case, Jeremiah was a Kohen. And so therefore, we are going to see that this takana goes back to the first temple. So the Gemara says, well, if that's the case, so the Gemara says, "V'tayim amay takina rabbana makusher." So why was this takana, this get makusher instituted? Asr de kahani ave. This was the place of kohanim. It was instituted in a place of kohanim. Remember, we said Jeremiah was a kohen also from So anatot. So he says, Asher the Kahane Bakapti Tuvi, the Kohanim were very hot-headed. And they divorced their wives. They got into a fit of passion and they would divorce their wives. They got said something, went the wrong way, and next thing you know, they're divorcing their wife. When a Kohen divorces his wife, he's not allowed to remarry her. Even if it's his own wife, he can't remarry a divorcee. So Avdi Rabbanan Takanta, the rabbis made takana that you should do a get mekusher. Why? Adahachi vahachi. In the meantime, while they're going to get, excuse me, while they're going to get a scribe and slowing down the process, miyatzvah detayu. Meanwhile, they'll all calm down. So the Gemara says, "Ha teinach gitin." This makes sense as it relates to divorce. Shtaros ma'iko meimar. What about a regular contract? Why do you have to slow it down? So the Gemara says, "Kadesh lo tachalak ben gitin shtaros." We don't want to draw a distinction between a divorce and contracts because you're not going to. If we start drawing this distinction, they won't do it by gitin either, and so therefore. So that'll slow down the process all along. Rashbam says Megarshin Ashayel from out of anger, because the get Pashut was written quickly. And then they would calm down and they wouldn't be able to go back. So therefore, that's what this whole process was instituted. So we don't want to draw this distinction because if they're accustomed to make get makusher, then also by Gite Nashim, by these documents for women, where they do it. So the Gemara now asks the question: Hey, where are the witnesses signed? Rav Huna Amar ben Kesher Kesher. He says they sign in between each fold. Rav Yirmiyah bar Abba Amar Achore Aksav, on the back of the writing. Kuneged Aksav, opposite the writing, libachutz, on the back. So Amar Rami bar Chama Rav Chisda Rav Huna Damar ben Kesher Kesher. According to Rav Huna, it says between each fold, Kasal Kadaitim ben Kesher Megavai. You think between each fold on the inside, Vahu Makusher, but wasn't there a case of a get Makusher, the Ka'asla coming to Rabbi, came in front of Rabbi, V'amar Rabbi, Ain's Mambazeb. Rabbi says, what kind of document is this? There's no date. Amar Rabbi Shum Rabbi, Shema ben Kshar Muvla. Maybe this document maybe the date is between the folds, and that's why you don't read it. So they ripped it open. The Chazi, and he saw it. Then Isa, and if it will be the case that the witnesses would be there as well, he should have said there's no date and there's no witnesses. So therefore, we see from here that the witnesses were not signed on the inside; they must have been signed on the outside. So Rav Chisda responds to Rami Bar Chama, Amar way, mi stavris ben kesher kesher megavai. You thought I meant between each of the folds on the inside. No, ben kesher kesher me'avrai. Meant between each of the folds on the outside, and so therefore they will be recognizable even when the document is folded over and sewn over. And so therefore Rebbe saw this thing there shows, but he didn't see the date. So the Gemara says, according to Rav Huna, we have a problem. Since according to Rav Huna, the Shtar Makusher, the witnesses are signing between each of the folds at the beginning of the document, and not at the end of the document. We see, therefore, that there's an empty space at the end of the document where the witnesses are not signing. They're signing at the top of the document. But we have a problem. Because of my Nebai. Well, if you can write after the witnesses, maybe he's forging it. He's writing whatever he wants after the witnesses. The Chasimi Sahadi, because the witnesses are signed on the back. And so therefore, he's going to write whatever he wants on the front, and it's not going to be connected to it. So the Gemara said, no, the Katzavei Sharir V'Kayam. At the end of the document, you write Sharir V'Kayam, and so therefore you can't have anything written after that. So the Gemara says, V'neichosh Dilma Kasav Ma'Debai V'Adar Kasav Sharir V'Kayam Achrina. Maybe he wrote what he wants, and then he writes Sharir V'Kayam at the end of it. So you have two Sharir V'Kayams. The Gemara says, no, that's not going to work. Chad Sharir V'Kayam Kasvina and Trey Sharir V'Kayam Lo Kasvina. No, we only allow one Sharir V'Kayam in a document, not two Sharir V'Kayams in the get. Gemara says, well, maybe he erased the first Sharir V'Kayam, and then he writes what he wants, and then he writes the second Sharir V'Kayam. And Gemara says, no, I'm a Rabbi Yochanan, Tuuya Mekuyemes. kshera. So no, Rabbi Yochanan gave us a general rule that if you had to write a little bit in the middle of the line, on top of each line, you had to write what word you missed the word. So it's called the tuluya that you wrote it in, and then you write at the end mikuyemes. I'm saying that this tuluya was there. It's like you initialed it. That's okay, kshera. But if you erase something and it's recognizable that you erased it, basically, then if you try to write it at the end, Mekuyam, that this was erased, it's not going to be work. It's not going to work. Below Amro Machak Paso, Alabamakum Sharir Kayam. When do we say Makom is Paso? Below that, when do we say if you erase it, it's disqualified? That's in a place where you would expect that he's written there Sharir Kayam. And also Kishir Sharir Kayam. And only if it's a space of Shir V'Kayam, because then we're concerned that he erased the Shir V'Kayam and he wrote the words that he added on, and so that would be deeply problematic because then it's possible that it's forged. All right, we'll stop here. Chodesh Tov, and God willing, we'll pick this up. We'll continue.